Mike Graham is still on leave. You know why. We just have to wait, folks.
Breaking today, axed Talk TV presenter Mike Graham is being replaced by his best friend Kevin O'Sullivan as the civil war behind the scenes at the News UK station reaches a new peak. So, as you'd expect, the listeners and the viewers are horrified. They've launched a "We Want Mike Graham Back" campaign. And of course, because there are the corporate sensibilities and the HR investigations around something like this, Mike's presenter friends, who viewers and listeners believe are his best mates, are unable to say anything. Although when Kevin O'Sullivan did step in, and as I say, I'm told that that is the most likely scenario. He is going to be presenting for the rest of the week. Jeremy Kyle has made clear he doesn't want that breakfast slot. When he did take to the mic this morning, he did mention Mike Graham in a very sort of roundabout manner. Watch.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Glory right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, standing in for my old friend Mike Graham, and I will be your host for 4 hours of breaking news, challenging views and dynamic debate. Back for the rest of the week. As I say, Mike Graham is still on leave. You know why. We just have to wait, folks. In the meantime...
So I am told there is an ongoing HR investigation where News UK, Rupert Murdoch's company, have said that Mike Graham will have to prove that his phone was hacked if he wants to return to air. Sources connected to the company tell me that Mike Graham has refused to hand over his personal phone. And why should he really? But there is this extraordinary situation. It was very similar, of course, and this is why I feel so strongly about it, to what happened with me and GB News, where Mike Graham's show, Plank of the Week, was also hosted by his BFF Kevin O'Sullivan. Watch.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Kevin O'Sullivan.
Hi, welcome to Plank of the Week. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and of course I'm standing in for my good friend Mike Graham. And I've got a hell of a panel for you this week. It is the brilliant Will Geddes, the amazing...
But of course, the viewer boycott continues, and as you can see there, a fraction of the usual audience. Because the problem is, even though the talk presenters might feel like they're unable to say anything and might have their hands tied, the audience never accept this. I saw it with me. And you'll also remember that the decision for Mark Dolan to run so fast to jump on my grave and start hosting my old show was not good for him. The GB News viewers and listeners never forgave him, and he ended up being sacked by station management. But Mark doesn't seem to have learned his lesson here, because he's now facing backlash internally at Talk for openly lobbying for Mike Graham's job. He's done the same thing again with this post on X, where he wrote, "In the last 2 weeks, Talk TV Weekend Breakfast has smashed through 4 million digital views. Huge thanks to everyone watching, sharing and commentating. Personally, I put it down to the wardrobe back on air this Saturday and Sunday." Honestly, Dolan, just shut up. Seriously, sometimes just shut up. Do your lobbying behind the scenes. Okay, because right now you've got a station in crisis, its biggest presenter is off air, and the viewers and the listeners have no idea why, have no idea if Mike is ever going to return. And from everything that I'm being told, it is now increasingly unlikely that there is a path back. Of course, why this should really concern Talk management is that the enemies of the station, the absolute enemies, are luxuriating in this. So we're going to get reaction in just one moment from the brilliant Christine and Neil Hamilton. But first I have to show you the biggest enemy who has been celebrating over the weekend, the totally vile Femi Olawale. Watch. Dan Wootton Outspoken is available as a podcast too. So to listen or watch us on the go, wherever you are, then please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as a personal favour to me, please rate and review, as it really helps our independent show.
But he's always been a piece of shit. Like, you probably know him as the guy who said you could grow concrete, but I know him as the guy who, when I went into the studio with him to meet him for the very first time in 2018 for a debate over Brexit, he said, the very first thing he said to me was, I'm going to tear you apart. Like, to my face, like an inch away from my face. And then this happened.
What is the single market?
What difference does it make what the single market is?
What is the single market?
I don't know what the single market is. I don't care what the single market is.
There we go.
I don't give a stuff.
You do not know what the single market is. This is the primary term that's been used throughout the entire of this debate, and you don't know what it is. That is the benefit. It's the thing of the EU that provides an economic benefit.
Why don't you tell me what it is then?
All right.
Imagine you educate all of us what the single market is.
Imagine if you wanted to sell to 28 different countries, including your own, but those 28 different countries had different laws.
Yeah, imagine that. That all happened before 1973.
Yeah. You would have,
do you know Bob Geldof said...
No,
wait a second. Bob Geldof said that the music business... Yeah, but I didn't mean it, though. I'm just playing with you, man.
Yeah, and if
I don't actually want you to give me a boring answer. Of course I know what the bloody single market is.
If those countries have different laws, I'd have to manufacture, market, and package my product in 28 different ways.
No, you wouldn't.
That would raise my costs.
Absolute rubbish.
I'd have to pay for the extra...
What a load of nonsense.
I'd have to pay for the extra...
You have become delusional, and it's time for you to have your medication, quite frankly.
I would have to pay for the extra cost of regulatory checks. It would increase my costs. Now, by making laws together, it means anything made in this country is automatically legal across Europe. That makes things cheaper, makes things cheaper to sell.
So I won't be able to buy a Mercedes anymore. Is that what you're telling me? I won't be able to go to Germany and buy myself a Mercedes or an Audi or a BMW because it'll be too difficult.
You'll be able to, but it will cost more.
You don't know that. Do you think Mercedes are going to deliberately cut their nose off to spite their face and make it more expensive for them to sell their cars?
It's not about them choosing to make it more expensive. It's by the fact that having different laws automatically makes it more expensive.
No, it doesn't. It does not make anything automatic. Do you know what Bob Geldof, your hero?
You literally just admitted to not knowing what the single market is.
Yeah, I was playing with you, man. Do you think I don't know what it means? I've studied economics as well.
It's so well and good to say you know what it means after you've said you don't, and then I explain it to you, and now you know what it means.
And now he's lost his job because he's been exposed as a racist piece of shit, and I could not be happier. And it's important to remember, Talk TV is a racist news channel. Like, they aren't doing this on principle. They just know that there's a line that they can't cross. They can't be that overtly racist. And that line exists because, contrary to popular belief, we are a society that, at the very least, that does not tolerate overt racism, putting people like me on one side of the line and people like Mike Graham on the other. So Mike Graham, I know you've blocked me and have done for years, but if you do see this, know I win.
So Neil Hamilton, the fact that someone like Femi Olawale is so happy about the defenestration of Mike Graham, I think is a reason why people, and certainly why Talk, should want him back. But what's your take on this decision? It all obviously comes from this post that he made on a Sunday night, which many said were racist. He said, compare and contrast, tell me we're not fucked by multicultural bollocks. Why are we surrounded by non-white people? Just fuck off. But he then said the next day that he had indeed been hacked. But first, this episode of Outspoken is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. And I'm very excited to say the heat has finally arrived overseas. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in the White Hot Special Edition colorway from Manscaped is now available across the UK, Europe, and Australia. It's the same trimmer trusted by millions of men, including me, now with a clean white and gold finish that looks just as smooth as it shaves. But this isn't just a pretty face. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is built to handle your most sensitive areas with care, helping reduce the risk of nicks, cuts, and irritation where it matters most. So whether you're cleaning things up for a day, to trip, or just to feel a little bit more pot together, the White Hot trimmer makes below-the-waist grooming a whole lot smoother. Literally. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and use the code Outspoken for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. And to the ladies in the Outspoken audience, trust me, this is a fail-safe gift for your boyfriend, your husband, your son, your brother, or your hard-to-buy-for male best mate. The blades are designed to glide over the skin with less tug and pull, helping the bloke in your life avoid the usual redness or irritation that comes with lower quality trimmers. It's simple, effective, and doesn't require a whole routine. Just pick it up, clean up what you need, and move on. Whether you're using it in the shower, on the go, or standing over the sink before a night out, the White Hot 5.0 Ultra fits into your day without getting in the way. Plus, the white and gold design actually looks good. You won't be hiding it in the bottom drawer. anymore. White hot looks, smooth results. The White Hot 5.0 Ultra brings the heat without cooking your skin. It's sleek, easy to use, and way less terrifying than whatever you were using before. Use the code Outspoken for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. That's 15% off with the code Outspoken at manscaped.com. But now, back to the show.
Well, obviously, I've got no idea of the truth of that or not. And it's not the language I would have used with the foul-mouthed expletives and so on. And that's why I think it's unlikely that Mike Graham would have used those words too. But the sentiment that was expressed there without the expletives is another commonplace that you'll hear people talking about. 56% of the people who live in London were born outside the United Kingdom. I think that's a pretty dramatic fact of our capital city, that more than half the people who live in London were not born in the United Kingdom, let alone in London. And that is demonstrable just by the photograph that we saw in that caption, and anybody's lived experience is that it's a commonplace. What is controversial about saying it? Absolutely nothing whatsoever. And of course, it's a growing proportion of the population that was not born in the United Kingdom. If you don't think that matters in the capital city of a country, then there's something wrong with you, in my opinion. It's obvious that what we're seeing in this country is actually cultural displacement of our own people. And once ethnic groups reach a certain size as a proportion of the population, as I said earlier on, birds of a feather flock together, and then you end up with a divided rather than a homogeneous society, and where there are tensions which can be blamed on identity rather than on other things which are nothing to do with it, then we'll see the kind of violence and disorder on the streets that we started the programme with. So these are all statements of the obvious, actually. Why should anybody apologise for a statement of the obvious?
Yeah, I mean, Christine, it's such an interesting one, isn't it? Because as we've seen also with Sarah Pochin over the weekend, and of course, ironically, she made her comments on Talk TV. So the bosses panicked again because it's like, holy shit, now we're caught up in a second racism scandal. But people are so quick to cancel us, right? And we never stand up for each other, and God, I obviously so feel this so strongly because of what I went through at GB News. And, you too, my God, you always stand up for what's right. And you stood up for me every single step of the way. But what I noted, Christine, is so many people didn't because they're scared, oh, am I going to lose my job? Is it bad if I'm associated with this? And I think we're now seeing the same thing with Mike Graham. And it does put the fellow presenters on Talk in a terrible position because there are lots of viewers and listeners who are boycotting and saying, until you own up and tell us what's happening with Mike Graham, we're not going to listen to you.
Well, when I first heard that we were going to be talking about it, we've been away for a week. We've been in Portugal, so we've kind of missed quite a lot of news. We only got back yesterday. So I was a bit worried, were we going to know what you were talking about? So I've, done my research, as it were. And my immediate thought, and you've already picked up on it, was that this is exactly what happened to you with TV News.
Exactly.
Your employers declined to believe you. You were suspended and eventually you were got rid of, and because they preferred to believe somebody else, somebody they didn't know, somebody who was making false accusations about you. Now, I've no idea. The little I know, I don't know Mike Graham apart from having been interviewed by him and been on his programme. I've never met him outside a studio context, so I don't know. But the idea that he would say that and put it out on Twitter, to me, seems totally against everything I know about the guy. And people are saying, oh, well, you, Mike Graham, you tweeted that photograph of Churchill and Big Ben a few minutes before in another tweet, therefore it must have been you. No, if it was hacked, the hackers just immediately took the photograph he used and then attached that rant. I just don't believe he would have used that language. So whether people are, of course people are vying for his job. I mean, that's going to happen in any case. As you say, you saw it happen at GB News when there's a vacancy, people rush to fill it. But I think, I hope he's vindicated. I mean, surely, I don't know enough about these things, but surely you can prove if your account has been hacked. The police would be able to prove it. Surely not. Surely they could. It's not impossible to prove it. So if he's proved to be right, he's owed a massive apology and he's owed his job straight back, whoever else might have jumped into his shoes in the meantime. But if only we could let's just get this organised, get it properly investigated, get his account looked at and see what the truth is.
But Neil, as is always the case, there's been a big woke takeover, right, of News UK, where I used to work. And there's this really interesting situation going on where, Talk TV is the sister station of Talk Sport. But Talk Sport is the cash cow. It's actually far more important to the News UK business. And Talk Sport has gone very woke. I mean, people might be surprised because obviously we're seeing Alan Brazil on the screen there. But, it's really changed since the Black Lives Matter movement. There's been a whole load of new presenters who have been brought in, including this guy called Aid Oladipo. And he went public on this, and he posted, just been sent, he's now deleted this, by the way, but this is what sparked the investigation. He posted this, just been sent that now deleted Instagram post from Mike Graham. I usually hold my tongue with most of the racist nonsense I see on social media, but this is beyond vile and unacceptable from someone in the same building as me, same floor. He simply has to be taken off air immediately by Talk TV. Horrible man. And so this is what's interesting, Neil. This situation with Mike Graham is now being used by Talk Sport, which has for a long time hated the association with Talk TV, for there to be real change.
Well, what's happened to the presumption of innocence in this country in these situations? To be accused is to be convicted nowadays immediately. 100%. Even a moment's thought. It's a spasmodic reaction, just a knee jerk. And we should really reflect, I think, upon what this is doing to the whole justice system in this country, where individuals can be targeted. This is an example of cybercrime, because that's what it would amount to. Then we should be concentrating on that fact, because what happened to Mike Graham can happen to any of us. If anybody targets you from the far left or wherever, or wants to destabilize the country, whether we see this with the Russian and Chinese, North Korean, similar regimes deliberately use their control of technology to try to foment all sorts of problems amongst their perceived enemies. And this can happen in civil society as well. We should really be much, much more aware of how fragile social media interactions are, and can easily be intercepted or hacked and perverted by those who want to destroy individuals who they think are too successful in broadcasting or propagandizing. And I think, again, though, I'll go back to the point that I made earlier on, where it may be that the political class think that by being so morally superior, adopting the high moral tone and hectoring positions that they do, that's going to close down people's opinions. But it isn't, because the public at large, as you say, in relation to Mike Graham's program, are just switching off, and they'll go elsewhere. That's why your new venture, which is the 364th program that we're on today, has been so successful, is because audiences can easily migrate to the channels.
Well, I think this is a huge opportunity for Mike. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think this is a huge opportunity for Mike. Get out of the mainstream media. It's dying. It's dying. This is maybe an excuse. They may be just using this to get rid of you anyway. So just embrace what this world is, because at the end of the day, you're much, much more powerful on your own. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.